is one of the most amazing people in the world. I have a list of all kinds of awards, but I want you to know that this reading and the other two would not have been possible if the Boylston Cultural Council had not approved our grant and if the Massachusetts Cultural Council had not said it was okay. So those are taken care of. And Alexi Nix here at the library has been wonderful working with, so I want to thank everybody. But I think I'm going to read the shorter of the two award listings. Okay, John Hodgen, the writer-in-residence at Assumption University in Worcester. Hodgen won the AWP Donald Hall Prize in Poetry for Grace, University of Pittsburgh Press, 2005. His fifth book, The Lord of Everywhere, is out from Link's House. It's been out for a while. University of Washington Press. He has won the Grolier Prize for Poetry, an Avron Foundation Award, the Yankee Magazine Award for Poetry, the Bluestem Award, the Balcones Prize, the Foley Prize, and the Massachusetts Cultural Council Award in Poetry. There's a lot more. So if you I'm going to leave it here.
Oh, please read them all, yeah.
And I'm hoping myself that he reads a lot of poems. So I expect that.
I see, you do, okay.
So thank you, John Hodgen.
Oh, thanks. There's one of the nicest people in the world. If you want to get 11 of your friends and get some sandals, just follow her around. You'll be better by tomorrow. Just a wonderful example to us all. You mean a great deal to me. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for setting this up. And thank you all. It's a pretty wild time, as you know. It's if you've seen The Wizard of Oz recently, we're in the land of flying monkeys now, I think. It's terrifying. Every day there's something that's harder to bear. And I don't know how to say this. I think the fact that whatever you were doing today and you decided to stop doing that and come here, I think that's our way to get through this. Maybe rebuild a sense of community or something. I just think there's something special that can happen when people from a community can come to a public place like this library, which is so cool. I think it looks like the Alamo. I think that's wonderful to be able to do this. I'm scared to death. I hope you like what I do, and I hope you don't get too upset if you don't like what I do. But I'm going to try to read you some poems that I've been working on my whole damn life, and I just can't thank you enough to have come here tonight. It means a great deal, more than I can probably say. I'll pass this around if you can just make sure it comes back to me. The way it's cropped as the full sheet, it just makes me think of a Caravaggio. There's so many people and the faces are all doing what they do in Caravaggio's paintings, and every once in a while you can say that's him. He always paints himself in with them if he can. This was a protest in 1970 in Washington, D.C., and I drove my wife down to this because it just seemed like the right thing to do. The shootings at Kent State and Jacksonville State had happened, and Kissinger had told Nixon to invade Cambodia. And it just seemed like you had to do something. I think you can see it in this, maybe even a little better than here. I don't know your ocular abilities here, and there's another one. But there's something remarkable about the fact that a young black man was willing to do what he's doing in this image. He was pulling an enormously heavy cross that had been painted black. And he was saying, of course, that the percentage of black people that ended up being drafted and sent to Vietnam was, Roger, I'll defer to you. You know this better than I do. That was criminal in many ways. There's just, the percentages didn't match up. You're drafting a certain number of white people and a lot of black people. But that was his message that day. You can barely see him. He's bearded, right here and looking just as good a Jesus as there ever was. Just a wonderful, earnest image in that face. And I like to think this is me. I wish it had been me. But I dragged my wife down to this, and we walked in and saw this kind of homage, I guess. We were there to pay respect to something, and we weren't all sure exactly what that was, but we were earnest, and we believed that it was important to stand up. I think we may be getting close to that kind of time again. I love the sense that there's something there that even they don't put words to yet. But anyway, that image came back to me all the way from 1970. Recently, I just was struck by how vivid the memory suddenly was in a dream, and then I couldn't let it go. And it seemed as if it was saying, you haven't written about this. And it just guaranteed that I would write this poem. So this is the first one. And I damn near got my wife killed on the way home. We were trying to drive home at 3 in the morning, and I crossed a couple of lines before I opened my eyes again. Let me ask, I don't think there's anything else you need to know. The poem is called Weltschmerz, which means world pain. I know you know that. And it's called Poem for the Great Divide. Tonight, with all that's happening outside, all that's being broken, denied, all that's slithering, roiling on the underside, all that must be decried, I'm remembering a young black man who allowed himself to be tied to a cross, to be hoisted up at a protest rally in 1970 in Washington against the killings at Jacksonville, Kent State, along with Nixon's incursion into Cambodia. The young black man permitting himself to be crucified, allowing his pride and the pride of all other black men to be amplified, holding his holy rage deep inside, both perfectly fit and unfit to be tied. Anguish he was after, performance art, like Jesus on the stark hillside of Calvary. Anguish on that blazing hot day with graves opening wide, and Judas, poor saint that he was, hanging himself for allowing deicide. How are you still in my heart all these years, you who well may have died by now? How to hold your wild courage, how to carry you down from that hill. I am ill at these numbers, Hamlet sighed. I'm beaten, dry-eyed. I can feel the chill. Oh, don't get old. I'm from the 1900s. If you can avoid getting as old as I am, it's that sense of helplessness. You just got that sharp memory of that vivid strength that was required at a moment to stand up and say your country was wrong about something. And it's demanding. It's not an easy thing at all. I've got a poem. I think some of you have heard this already. I'm the kid who told his father to go to hell, and then he did. I wanted him to go to church with me, and he wouldn't. I've written about that and read that poem so many times. I know most of you probably have heard that and probably could give it back to me by heart. But the job that I got, because I had to get a job, the job that I got was digging graves. That was what was available. That's what I could do. I could walk from my house about 3/4 of a mile, all downhill. And there was a cemetery down there that was looking for a part-time grave digger. And that's seriously what I found myself doing. While I was dealing with the fact that I thought the last thing I ever said to my father was really unforgivable. So I met Mr. Brown. He was the cemetery commissioner in Templeton, Mass. And he was our boss, our supervisor at the Pine Grove Cemetery. I think when I took the job, I didn't know that the word pine could also mean wishing for something or longing for something, but that was pretty good. And then the grove, I knew right away, that's pretty damn close to grave. And I just could find myself kind of looking at the world and trying to piece it back together again. So Mr. Brown, picture Robert Frost, that's what he looked like. And this is for him. It just, part of that 1970 poem that just came out, this one did too. It was about time I went back and really tried to write this. For Mr. Brown, Templeton Town Cemetery Commissioner and Supervisor of the Pine Grove Cemetery, who gave me my first job digging graves after my father died. You start at the ground level and work your way down, he said, in that sly, wry way he had of addressing others, that deadpan, antiquated, grounded manner of a New England farmer and town official, fully familiar with life and its various ways, how it keeps digging at you, works you down to the bone, just like death with its modus operandi, its mole, always hunting, gathering, and collecting its own. Part Robert Frost, part Hamlet's grave-digging fool, always testing and telling, in much the same way he'd pass judgment on how we'd done, Freddie Maz and I, his trusty part-time after-school diggers, when we thought the job was done, the grave finished, and measured just right, sure we'd pass inspection and get out early for the long walk home in the gathering night. A grave has its footing, its royalties, he said. A grave has its crown, like a mitre, an upside-down pope's hat. You must pay your respects. And then, always, the capper, his patented line, you have to work your way down. He taught us more than we ever wanted to know about the assembled family of shovels and tools in the shed. Don't let them get rusty. Keep them clean. Use the small square spade for the topsoil. The first 6 inches, he said. Carefully cutting it into squares and setting them aside in the wheelbarrow for the eventual slow replacement, so they would blend right back into place with the other sod, the cemetery lawn. He spoke as if the cemetery were a little town within the town itself, as if each grave were its own little house. Then the rest, he said. Not the 6 feet, like Boot Hill in Tombstone, and the gravestone that read, "Here lies Lester Moore, 4 slugs with a 44, no less, no more." Oh, good laugh. And we learned, whether we wanted to or not, to be spare with our words, to say only what was needed, nothing more. That extra talk led to more trouble. That was what work was for. Then he died, Mr. Brown, and we learned what irony was for. His life and death become the town's quick joke. His being killed driving out of the cemetery when his truck stalled, as it often did, the choke. His not seeing the Peterbilt 18-wheeler coming over the rise, no time to stop or swerve, the old okey-doke. At least it must have been quick. And we got to dig his grave, Freddie Maz and myself, and we did it right, using all the shovels. The long-handled one with the curved blade like an upside-down pope's hat, the mitre it's called, and the root cutters, spades, and the tamp. We dug it 4 feet, then added 2 more, nonetheless, because it had to be more, to be closer to the earth, to its heart, its core. We used the plumb line, tightened each corner, and left wanting to do more. We worked our way down. We never said a word. That's what work was for. And forgive me, I'd like to know if anybody stays awake through this one. This is about that same story, but it's written more about Freddie Maz and myself. God, he was a good kid. He was my friend. We got into a fist fight one night, but that's another story. So let me try this. I don't think I've ever read this out loud. If I have, you can call me a liar. It's called Once I Was a Digger of Graves. Once on a Saturday on the way back to work, to Pine Grove Cemetery, one grave down and another to go, walking down Athol Road from the Templeton Diner with my friend Freddie Maz, co-digger of graves, whose father was a drunk, and mine, dead for 6 months, whom I had argued with, who wouldn't go to church with me, and whom I'd told to go to hell a week before he died. We'd decided, Freddie and I, young men that we were, sophomores in high school, that we wouldn't be going back to that diner anymore. Too much money, we thought. 2 hot dogs, a new grape with chips, 35 cents, plus the 20-cent tip, and the walk there and back probably making us late. Not a good idea with Mr. Brown either, our boss at Pine Grove, who was waiting for us and who probably wanted to kill us too. Mr. Brown, who looked like Robert Frost and acted like him too. No two roads diverged ever with him, just the one true way. And who a month later would be killed himself when his pickup truck stalled pulling out from the cemetery. A trailer truck driver coming over the rise who couldn't see him in time. Still, in that lunch hour, we passed Paula Hunt's house twice, going up, going down, and the name the shop kids called her. Paula, who was beautiful but didn't even know it, and with whom we both were in love. Paula, who that summer only wanted to be touched, but we were both afraid and didn't know how. And there on Athol Road, walking back, Freddie on the one side and I on the other, only 7 minutes more before we'd be late. Freddie's Timex in his watch pocket, the strap broken off in a fist fight we had had. I found a red rubber ball someone lost by the side of the road. And with all that we were up against, our damning poverty, our numbing stupidity, our fathers both drunken and gone, Mr. Brown in the last vast unknown month of his life at Pine Grove, death coming looking for him each day where he worked, where the gravestones lined up like desks in a classroom, where the two of us would have soon have another grave to dig. I started throwing the red ball to him, Freddie Maz, just for the hell of it, for no reason at all. One bounce in the middle of the road, each of us catching it each time in one hand, nobody missing, perfect as a pendulum, then winging it, chucking it faster and harder right in front of passing cars to see how close we could come. The idea delicious somehow, each throw coming closer, just being idiots. Nobody stopping just yet, but us knowing they could. Someone giving us the finger, calling us assholes, dipshits, dumb fucks. Or maybe, sooner or later, God forbid, someone really pulling over, getting out, coming at us, arms all askew, some dumb bastard, some slack-jawed yokel pissing and moaning, ready to punch us both out just for flinching, just for breathing. And I knew in that moment I would have just stood there, would have taken it, welcomed it, truly the beating I so richly deserved. thinking they'd end up feeling worse someday down the road when they heard they'd been pounding the dead guy's kid, the kid from the cemetery, the weird one, the fool, some screw loose, off his rocker, people might say, the dumbass, the crazy kid who kept asking for it, wanting only to be touched in that rough, ragged way, who kept saying with each haymaker, with the blood in his mouth, I wasn't throwing at you. Something else I was throwing at. Something in you, within you, I don't have anymore. It wasn't you and your living, your fullness I was throwing at. Something moving and heavy like your life, where you are. Jesus, sweet Jesus, I just wanted to hold you. I didn't even hit you. Didn't touch your goddamn car. Clearly there was something wrong with me. I was not doing well. There's the grief of doing what I did. I guess I can't figure it out myself, but there was something about throwing that ball as close to that car and bouncing it right in front of the car and just seeing if you could disturb the world for a little and having him catch it. And he knew, without even saying it, that thing we learned from Mr. Brown, he knew that this was important, and he'd throw it back right in front of another car, and we were just waiting for somebody to get tired of that real quick and punch us out. And you got to be a little disturbed to find yourself in a place like that. I talk too much. That's fairly clear. I think. I went with my wife to Whole Foods a couple of weeks ago, and we were going out the self-checkout section, and this woman was, I don't know, 40, somewhere like, yeah. Perfect moment for me, to Mr. Poetry Guy, to walk up and ask her. I literally said, you must learn a lot about nature, human nature, in your job. And I'm wondering what you've seen, what you've learned. What would that be? Boy, she was just waiting for somebody to come along and ask me that question. And she gave me two. I love the way she explained it. She gave me one outstanding example in one direction and one outstanding direction in the other. I wish she had given me a cough drop. I could have used it. So it's called What the Whole Foods Self-Checkout Line Assistant Tells Me, present tense, when I ask what she's learned about human nature in her job. She tells me she's still learning the ropes, the tropes, the subtle, leavened differences in the processes of shepherding cats as opposed to those of shepherding ghosts. But that she thinks, she hopes, that people are largely the same, that the halt and lame will be with us always, believers and true believers, far less people named Nicodemus or Philemon perhaps, but still so many under treatment for autoimmune deficiencies whose bodies or temples might house a whirlwind or demons. She says just last week there was a man who believed with all his heart and soul that he could fit the take-home box of pizza into one of those small plastic bags. That bless you, that it would stay warmer that way, who learned soon enough he could only partly cover it that way, but who could amend his plan, his whole belief system, by applying a series of other plastic bags, also part way, until he lost his faith entire. Like a folded up road map to Samara or Tyre, and began to rage. But once, she said, there was another man who also stood in line, watching a pale young woman who saw too late that it was credit card only, whose card didn't work, who began weeping, turning, then pulling at her hair, going as far outside her mind as she could and still remain whole, as if trapped in a cave with no way to get out, until a man said in a still, small voice that he would pay it for her, the $100, that he would help her out. I'm assuming you all know this painting too. It's one of my top 10. It's just a remarkable painting. If you don't, look up everything you can about it. It's pretty real. Actually happened. It's just remarkable what he does with the perspective, the focal point, and the balancing that goes on. The terrible bodies over here, and that remarkable expression in the man's face in the middle. This is called Sikot, which is a maximum security prison in El Salvador, where there's at least one man there who doesn't deserve to be there at all. At Sikot, the lights stay on all day and all night, so that no hope exists for any end to the day or circadian night. The lights so damnably bright that if Katy Perry and Gayle King had stayed in Blue Origin for more than 8 minutes, they could have seen Sikot from space, while floating in the warm cocoon of womb-like celebrity and delight. And had they left earlier, they might have seen human beings hunched and handcuffed in chains, being herded out of sight to cells in El Salvador that hold up to 80 prisoners each, with only 2 toilets, where days never end, where light becomes night, where nothing and no one ever escapes or takes flight, except perhaps the fragments of dreams, screams, broken teeth, broken prayers, unstanched blood and anguish, and pieces of what used to be words lift themselves upright to float and swirl above Sikot in their own blue origins, like the murmurations of dead birds. There, Kristi Noem, Homeland Security Director, may have seen them in her role as chief influencer and official oversight when she visited Sikot while directing her attention to her $50,000 Rolex Cosmograph Daytona timepiece with its caliber 4132 architecture, its chronergy escapement and parachrome hairspring, its hermetic oyster case maintained by screw-down pushers and patented triplock winding crown. Down with all that, she wears her own winding crown when murmuring before congressional hearings, when shooting her dog, or when she's just killing time, when she hears once again about the Maryland man, about his rights to due process, the Supreme Court and the rule of law, the man who, according to the administration's own newly appointed Solicitor General, was imprisoned by mistake, by an administrative error, by a ruling so flawed that the man's wife stands outside now looking at us as if we were a monolith left by some aberrant solar system. A woman who will continue to look at us as if we too were citizens, both odd and awed, denizens in the land of Nod, as if we were the next victims in Goya's The 3rd of May, 1808, lined up before a firing squad. Each of us in agony like Lot's wife, or a pillar of salt, or Antigone, or Elizabeth Proctor, Mary Todd Lincoln, or even the Mother of God. I don't know where this came from. It's one of those poems, you poets in the room, you know sometimes that's all you need. You keep reading and you come across a quote, and the quote I found, and it just kind of like an earworm, it just kind of climbed into my head. It was 2 words from a quote by Pablo Picasso. And the 2 words are that sea, the capital letter C. And the quote is, all of us have followed that sea, ellipsis, Cézanne. And that's a pretty nice compliment for Cézanne. I'm thinking it's a nice thing for Picasso to say about another painter. I hope you like Cézanne. There's so much to say here. I don't know why, but this ended up taking its way toward the ocean. And Cézanne didn't do as much as that as he did about painting fruit. But anyway, it's called That Sea. Each night, God paints a line across the bottom of the sky. And when we see what he's doing, we paint a line on top of his to say this night must never die. And then he paints his line over ours, like a John Hancock auto pen signature, only faster this time. And we see for certain that now it's a race, and we cross that line again over his. But he's already painting over ours again, this time in Greek and Cerulean, but more like Cezanne. That sea, trying to make an impression. But we think he means the sea, the water, the rising tide. So it's the sky that must change, the sky that must die. So we paint it again, more determined this time. Sky, water, till the paint's running dry. And our hands shake a bit and we're missing a spot. That star over there, like Lily Briscoe's lighthouse painting falling into the sea. Can you see? Can you see? But in ochre this time, in burnt umber. That sea, your whole life like a road running into the sea. Not quite sure what I'm doing in there. It's something about getting older and beginning to think that all this time we've been having an argument with God, if you believe in God. That he's doing the best he can, like an old painter. He's trying to tell us what we should be doing down here, where we should find ourselves coming alive. And we miss it every time. He's talking about the capital letter C, and we're thinking about a little c. And then when he finally gets us to go there, then suddenly we lose sight of something else. I feel like over and over again, we've been missing our lessons. There's a great teacher around there somewhere who's trying to help us, and we're missing it every time. Last poem. I'm resurrecting something that happened with me and my kids. My kids and I ran the best bedtime story moments that I could possibly imagine. We were real good. We loved story time. We loved that. I don't know if it's still there. I doubt that it is. But trust me, in Rutland, Mass, it's past West Boylston.
We wouldn't know.
I wouldn't know, yeah. I'd go the wrong way. That sea. I had come back from a writers' conference, I think, at Quabbin, Jim Besh's group. But on the way home, I had heard that there was a small farm that actually had some buffalo. Oh, nodding. Oh, you know this. You do know.
It's Man's Farm.
Oh, no kidding. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, good.
Man's Farm.
Oh, that's great. Oh, that's great. Well, I went, as one might expect. I just drove up there and saw a buffalo, and there was a fence, and I love that moment where you're kind of next to a creature that could kill you, but they they don't necessarily plan on doing like anything like that at all, but you just keep looking at them, and I thought there was so much that was there, and I'm the guy that starts talking to the Whole Foods lady, so it won't surprise you. I started talking to the buffalo. And not with any intent of getting to know him all that well and having to put him in the car. And I just was trying to speak to the fact he looked so sad. He just looked so broken and sad. I used to teach Native American literature, and all my classes knew about what we did to the buffalo. And so I made a mistake of telling my kids that I had said something to a buffalo that day. And they wouldn't let me off the hook at all. They wanted to know. They were all over. What'd you tell them? What'd you tell them? And I put it off for as long as I could, but they finally nailed me down. So you have to combine kids' bedtime story time with a father who's foolish enough to talk to buffalo. Bedtime story. Or after I tell my two daughters that I saw a real buffalo only 2 towns away at a homegrown buffalo preserve in Rutland, Mass., and that he looked so sad I started talking to him. They respond in the most obvious and necessary way, as they should, paying pure allegiance to the premise that the world is a big miracle bag full of questions left to be answered, asking me repeatedly, What did you say to him? I demur at first in that predictable parental way, hoping that that'll buy time from their lives hurly-burly, their 7 and 9-year-olds' perfect attendance at life's county fair, that they'll forget, caught in the stampeding throes of the next big question within their big miracle question bag of days. But right at bedtime, story time, they're right there, exhibiting no interest or care where the wild things are tonight, nor in finding where Waldo is either, or regaling me with their latest uncanny impressions of Hardy Har Har. What did you say to the Buffalo Dad? For we really want to know. And I cave, sigh, stare at the neon moons and stars on the ceiling and say, all right, you win. Fair is fair. And I tell them men used to ride on trains out of St. Louis for an hour or more one way, eating and drinking, then ride back again for another hour or more, shooting buffalo all day. And sometimes there were so many buffalo they completely blocked the tracks. So they stopped the trains and the men would shoot them and shoot them again as they ran away. And sometimes the head buffalo would charge at the train in an act called turning at bay. And the men would all shoot just at him, of course, until they succeeded and blew him away. And the men didn't carve the buffalo up for the meat or the hides. They just kept firing away, leaving the dead and the wounded to bleed out on the ground in black runnels where they lay. And that was the exact opposite of the people of the Kiowa or Shawnee or Cherokee way, who used nearly every part of the buffalo for food, clothing, or shelter as the traditional way to thank the Great Spirit, to stay in touch with the earth, using all but 2 parts to repay all they had been given. What 2 parts? My daughters quickly say. And I scramble to say, maybe they're kneecaps. And that's why you never see any buffalo in church kneeling to pray. And they laugh, but believe me, straight away. So I don't mention the trail of tears, nor do I say anything about the smallpox blankets or wounded knee. And still they ask, tell us, what did you say? I said I'm sorry again and again for the men shooting back then and today, as if that's any way to solve anything. To pick up a gun and pick it up again. And thankfully my daughters say, but you didn't do that. But I did in a way. Like when we're scared, when we don't see and say what we can. See the sadness in the eyes of the buffalo, how it holds, how it stays. Turn at bay if you have to. Hold each other. Take good care. Speak up when you can. There's no other way. That's all I have to say. Now go to sleep. 40 years now. They remember that night to this day. Thanks. Thanks. You've been nice to me. Oh, yeah.
What did you really say to the buffalo?
Yeah, it really was more than anything else. I just said how sorry I was. I just kept saying, I'm sorry.
It's about the only thing you could say.
What else? Yeah, I don't know a lot of Buffalo lingo.
Did you ever get instruction on how to tell what the buffalo's mood towards you was?
I could detect that. If he started looking at me in any way and started snorting, I was out of there. No poems that day, yeah. But you people that know that Rutland had a buffalo, did you go to the same place and see the same thing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's so cool. That's really cool.
We'll have to introduce you to the camels.
Injuries to the
No,
camel?
we'll have to introduce you to the camels.
Introduce? Oh my God, they have camels? All right, that's great. So they're still in business?
I don't think they have the
They-
buffalo farms.
Yeah, they changed hands. I don't know if they still have the buffalo, but there's a couple of farms out there that have
Yeah.
camels, llamas, alpacas.
The buffalo was on, but they
Yeah.
still have the farms.
Oh, that's cool. Do you want to go? Let's go. That'd be fun. That'd be fun.
But that's so challenging. What do you say to the alpaca?
Oh, I know, yeah. I'd make some joke about how well they pack there.
Yeah, what are you packing? What are you packing?
Yeah. Yeah, don't come in here packing. Yeah. Anybody else?
That was great. That was great.
Oh, that's nice. Oh, thanks.
Glad she grabbed me along.
Oh, cool. That's cool. Thanks. Yeah, that's nice of you. I'm gonna buy her some ice cream on the way home.
We just bought lobster. I mean,
All right, all right. Oh, thanks for coming.
don't believe
Thanks.
what I said to the lobster. I'm sorry.
Man talks to lobsters. That's frightening.
So do you have another book coming out?
I feel like I'm pretty close to having enough to be a book, but I'm not in any way at all organizing it or getting it into kind of shape or coming up with a title or any of that at all. But I've been writing a lot, as you have. You've been writing a lot. Hard times are good for writing.
I don't know anybody who is jumping around and being really happy and says, "Oh, let me get a pen."
Yeah.
It's when you're sitting in your room and you're thinking, "Oh no."
Yeah.
I just have to figure this out.
That's for sure.
So that's when you write it. There's a lot of stuff to figure out.
Sure, sure. And it makes sense. That's the way to get it out. Hey, sure.
You taught me how to write.
Ah.
And one thing I always wondered, for me, the process, it's my sorrow and my regret that creates my really connected pieces. And I was curious what the other writers thought was their kind of core, I guess. Do you feel that there's emotions that draw you more towards writing than others? And do you find it difficult to go to that place?
Oh, of course. Yeah, yeah. But it seems wrong. It seems immoral to ignore it. If you wake up at 3 in the morning and you've got that kid with the cross in your head, you're dreaming about that kid all that time later. If you don't write it, it just seems that... I'm foolish enough to believe that if you ignore that, you only get 2 or 3 chances at doing that. And from that point on, I don't think you write anymore. Maybe I'm wrong, but you shouldn't. I think that you shouldn't write. If you ignore that, you shouldn't. I think most writers, I would agree with Susan, most writers come from that hard place. The ones that I read or am drawn to, that's, if God's trying to overpaint us every day, I think that's what we're supposed to pay attention to. Why are we drawn to that? Well, because it's there. It hurts. The big questions come, those miracle question bag questions. Why does it have to hurt like this? Why is it so? Why do people have to die? Why do we? And I don't think we made much progress at figuring that out. I don't know if we ever will, but while we're here, for you, I think you could write. If you're drawn to putting that on the page, do it. Do it.
Does it all the time.
Yeah. There's a new magazine in Worcester, the Worcester County Poetry Association advertised a new magazine called 3 Decker, am I right? And they're taking submissions right now. If you write, they're looking for stuff. Go Google 3 Decker and put something in the mail. I'm good if you are. You got me wanting to go see the buffalo again. Thanks again. It means a lot. It really means a lot. Thanks.